The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, says that the removal of fuel subsidy has raised monthly federal revenue to an average of 1 trillion naira in the last 4 months. Speaking at a 2-day retreat for Federal Account Allocation Committee in Asaba, the minister also, who was represented by the PAM Secretary, Mr. Okoko Udo, said that the action significantly raised monthly revenue shared by the federal, state and local government from average of 650 million naira to 1 trillion naira monthly. The minister said that in less than 6 months of this administration, the country has witnessed a introduction of important reforms such as petrol subsidy removal, fiscal and monetary policies reforms aimed at removing multiple taxation among others. While all these help with improved revenue inflow and made the federal account in particular witness an increase from 650 billion monthly to over 1 trillion naira in the last 4 months. He said the government had for long realized that petrol subsidy is not sustainable, given its erode revenue that should have been available to fund viable expenditure that are critical to the well-being of the populace. He also commended FAC for the theme of the retreat, creating a resilient economy through diversification of the nation's revenue. But the big question and the big story for today is, if the federal government, state and local government now have more to share on account, why have the general populace not yet seen the impact and a more improved revenue? Should more not be done by this administration to show the collective suffering of Nigerians on account of the fuel subsidy removal? It's a major one many are thinking of, and one we shall be discussing on this edition of The Big Story. And we're talking about subsidy removal and the increase in federal government revenue. That's what we're having as a major discourse today on The Big Story. We're talking about subsidy removal and also the increase in government revenue. And to truly help us talk about this lovely morning, we have no other person but our very own. Funny enough, he might be a comrade, but also an accountant, a chartered accountant in his own right. And I'm talking of no other person but Comrade Efe Odomo. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Hope you're not going to remove my own subsidy now.
Well, the subsidy is gone. Like Mr. President said, gone forever. Well, anyways, it looks as if it's costing a whole lot. Well, anyways, but for now, as it stands, the federal government is gaining from it. And in all honesty, they seem to would love to make it for it to remain permanent. But I will not be alone with that discussion. But look at the major questions as it concerns that very revelation from no other person but the finance minister himself and coordinating minister of the economy, Wale Edun. Now, this is one of the few times, in all honesty, this is one of the few times the federal government has come out to acknowledge an increase in revenue, which is a good news.
Definitely is a good news.
As it concerns more money to be shared by the federal, state, and the local government. But to ordinary Nigerians, should they also share in the joy of increased revenue going into the purse of the government? That's the question.
Mike, your guess is as good as mine.
So should they share in the joy, knowing that the federal government, like they have said, have more increased revenue, hence more monies will be shared by the state, federal, and local government. So should Nigerians also share in the joy of the federal government purse now having more weight than it used to be?
Yes, normally, if actually it's going to be, if it's actually going to be oversigned, Nigerians should share part of the joy. But the big question, like you always have in your story as a big story, will it wither down the step to the ordinary man?
We'll certainly come to that, but should that news be cheering news, especially?
Definitely, it's supposed to be a cheering news. It's supposed to be a cheering news because it requires a lot of wisdom to put this act together.
Okay.
And when you look, a hunger that has an expiring date doesn't kill.
Of course.
No matter the level of your hunger, and if you tell you that by the end of tomorrow, it's just like when you're having your 5 days fasting.
Yeah.
You're already on Thursday. I know the thing is ending on Friday. You will not die because the hope of survival is there. So with this news alone, we are supposed to be very happy, but we should also pray that let us actually.
That would bring me naturally to my next question, because it was a bitter pill and still remains a bitter pill for Nigerians to swallow on account of the subsidy removal.
Exactly, we are going through here.
It is one that has given a whole lot of Nigerians nothing but pain. But rather than government to complain on a dwindling revenue, they are now telling us, oh, no problem. Then we used to have less revenue, but now on account of your suffering, we are now getting more revenue. Now, since he has even made that revelation yesterday, a whole lot of Nigerians have come out to react to it. To say, oh, now we do know that the federal government is making a whole lot
of money.
But the question still remains, why have we not seen such increase also in either infrastructure, increase in better pay, or even general increase in the livelihood of citizens of this country? Or do you feel it's too short of a time for us to expect such?
What they should have done that would have actually made the impact to be immediate.
Yes.
They should have put that money in an exclusive list. Because by the time you share it within the 3 tiers of government.
Okay. Which they've been doing subsequently.
Yes.
In the last.
The amount that goes to each of the tiers may not be enough for the people to feel the impact. Okay. But if they have put it on an exclusive list that we are saving so amount of money every month. This month or the first 3 months, we are going to use it for social infrastructure.
Okay.
The next 3 months, we are going to use it for this. Then we will know that, yes, we are seeing it. But if you divide 1 trillion into the 3 tiers of government, let us assume the federal government being the lion now.
Chunk.
The lion now has about 600 million.
Yeah.
The state has 300 million. Then the local government 100 million. How, if you share this money to them, how much will go to each person? It will be a very minute amount of money.
We're talking of billions.
It does not matter. Do you know the population of the country? We have 774 local governments, if they are not more now. How much is going to each of the local governments? Don't look at the money in quantum. Look at the money as they are being
organized. Let's really get these facts clear. Are you saying, irrespective of whether it's 1 trillion naira, if it withers down, it has little or no significance?
Yes, exactly. That's why I said they should have used the exclusive list. We have so many epileptic issues in Nigeria. We are talking of the energy sector. We are talking of the downstream sector. We are talking of the health sector. If the first 6 months, like as I normally say, you cannot use 2 legs to climb the palm tree at the same time. You move leg by leg. Otherwise, you like the prayers in the Pentecostal churches, you fall, you collapse, and you die.
Yeah.
So if they are going to do it the other way, let us use the first 3, 4, 5 months to revitalize the health sector. Assuming, then the next one that comes, let us plow into the energy. But I would have preferred, yes, health is more important. Because if the health is not there, you will not have the power to go and start talking about something energy.
Yeah.
If the health sector is up and doing, the next one, plow it to energy. Do you know that if we have a stable power supply in Nigeria, everything will change within 6 months?
Okay, I'll still love to ask you where these monies can be channeled, but let's still remain with these amounts and look at it. Now, should the federal government be applauded in giving such revelation that at least we've had an increase in revenue? Because why I ask that question, let's take our minds back to 8 years ago, or let's run through the last administration. We've always been faced with little or no revenue.
Yeah, that is a language for it.
But this is the first time the federal government is coming out to say, well, come on, we used not to have, but now we do have. So should they not be applauded on that account for them to be also, because this will bring about more transparency, because people will ask questions.
With what they have done is already, they are setting a benchmark already for them to be measured.
Okay.
And that is exactly what the man has done. We are going to, we should applaud the federal government for coming out to tell us that we are now making money.
Okay.
But it will not be enough, like production. Production is not complete until it gets to the final consumer.
Of course.
Or when it is not enough to make this money. It will be enough for us to see how this money is being applied. Who is benefiting from it? The physical structure of what the money is given to us would just be enough. Because as I said earlier, if you share this money into the 3 tiers of government, and you say 600 million goes to the federal government, look at how many numbers of the parasites the government is running.
Of course.
Look at the huge cost of governance.
We're talking about just recurrent itself.
Yes, we've not even talked about the capital expenditure.
Okay.
Look, if you want to revive an economy, you have to put your feet down, hold down some sectors of the economy, bring up some other sectors, get on a level, come back again and move the other ones that you have left behind. That is what is called the parallel run. You see, it's a computer language. You move on to a point, you stop, you come back and move the other one. Before, if you say you want to start moving everything at the same time, it cannot work. It's like it's just amount to you are over trading.
So are you saying that's what the federal government is doing now? Sharing the money among the 3 tiers of government will have little or no impact?
It has little or no impact.
Okay, now let's continue our discussion. In case you're joining us, we're on Quest today. We're talking about the recent revelation of the Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy. And he only said that day before yesterday, funny enough, in Delta State, Asaba to be precise, when he said that the federal government revenue has now increased to 1 trillion naira, up from 650 billion that it used to be before the removal of the fuel subsidy. And just like he said, in the last 4 months, we've had that very graceful growth in our revenue amounting to 1 trillion. But the question still remains, should they be applauded about it, or what should that money also be channeled into for us to see a positive impact in the life of Nigerians? But anyway, let's come back to it, Comrade FM&TV. The Federal Inland Revenue Service plans to generate a total of 25 trillion naira in 2024. That's their projection. They told us just last month that their projection will be 25 trillion in 2024. And not only that, we as Nigerians are expected to generate $29 billion in oil revenue for 2024. And now we're having increase in our monthly revenue amounting to 1 trillion naira. Now, what should such an increase mean for Nigerians? In real sense, we're not just talking about, okay, yes, we have these, this is what you mean, because these are projections. And just like you said, hope is when you see what's on ground and have an expiration date on
has an expiration date, it's not killed.
Okay, so let's look at it. Is every tendency, the prospect seems to be bright for us.
Yes.
I'm talking about revenue generation.
Yes.
So naturally, I'm just talking on natural terms, what should this really mean for this country?
Definitely. Even if we achieve 60% of what the government is telling us now,
yes,
Nigeria will be better off. But it is not enough to achieve that 60%, like I've said. It will be enough to actually plow those money into the lives of
everyone. Are you seeing a bright? Are you seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with all of these amounts?
Let us follow Mr. President from when he was in Lagos State. Mr. President is a money maker. He is a money manager. He manages money. And that he paid off in Lagos. And that is what he's bringing to the federal. You know, for almost a period of 8 years, he was the governor. Yes. He was not having a federal government allocation because of the problem or the face-off he had.
He had a face-off with former President Olusegun Obasanjo.
What did they call him? The airborne of water.
Well, anyway, I hope that title will not be too much on his head this morning. But anyway, go ahead.
You see, so he's still applying the same issue. Mr. President is not going to do these jobs himself, but he has made people that will do those things and come back and give him reports. The Federal Inland Revenue Service that is going to generate that money before they before they come out with that amount, they have looked into the market. You know what paid off for him in Lagos State? When Lagos State was being strangulated for money
from federal funds.
Yes, he called one of his personnel who was a minister in the last administration, a big-headed minister. What can we do? The man said, look, I know somebody that can help us to generate this money. They brought in a chartered accountant. But if I mention his name, it will look as if I am marketing him now. You know what that one told him? He said, look, Lagosians are lawless. We can make money from them. You don't jump queue. You don't drive against traffic. You don't pee anyhow. You don't do this. They don't do that. They first of all establish those ones, put penalties there. Bam. The next thing, what do we do? Let us go to companies who are not paying their taxes. Yeah. Not the federal government revenue now.
But state taxes.
The state taxes. They will come, the man will review your books in your presence, he will give you your penalty. If you don't pay, the police are within, they get you arrested. And the man generated a lot of money, and that is what is paying off in Lagos State tomorrow.
So with all of these projections, and if you say 60% of it is being used,
yes,
would be getting out of the woods as ending of 2024
exactly.
into 2025.
I believe that. But I will always still continue to say, let us not just spread this money across boards at the same time.
As we are doing.
Yes, the effect will not be there. Don't share this money between the federal, the state, and the local government. Keep it on the exclusive list. Come out and tell us we want to revive the energy sector. What is wrong in saying that out of all the senatorial districts we have in the country, they have 2 or 3 IPP, independent power project. Then you have killed the epileptic power supply issue. How much do you use to run this place on a monthly basis on diesel alone? Because the paper you presented in Asaba 2 weeks ago, I remember, about 4.something million. If you are able to run this place on power without diesel, and they even ask you to be paying 200,000 naira every month for your power consumption, how much have you saved? Will that money not go a long way in increasing your revenue base for the establishment? So if they are taking this thing one after the other, because we are already at the bottom of the well, you cannot be in a hurry to come out of it. And the only way you can come out of it is to take it systematically from the bottom. You climb gradually before you get to the top. Come out with a policy.
So you feel just trickling it down is total waste?
It's a total waste. If they will not feel it. What is it? Instead of me giving you 20 naira every day to feed, will it not be better if I give you 10,000 naira at the end of the month? So
okay, now, as much as you feel the future will be bright if a large chunk of this money would be used in dealing with the major problem that are confronting us, but I'm now forced to ask another question.
Yeah, you're very free.
And the question I'm now forced to ask, looking at all the increase we've had over the period of 4 months, why are we still borrowing? And the reason I ask this question is our debt profile has jumped about 80% in the last 3 months. And I did not even add the French $7.8 billion and 100 million euros that President Tinubu recently requested for.
No,
my question is, if they feel and they are confident to tell us that they're now having 1 trillion in as revenue for them, is there any point still borrowing and increasing the debt profile to almost 90 trillion naira in the last 3 months?
For how long have they started making this 1 trillion naira?
And they said in the last 4 months.
In the last 4 months, compared to what you're having on ground. How much do you use to service your debt alone? Were you not told that you have almost a 95% or 97% out of your revenue to service the debt you have? So if you say because you are making 1 trillion for the past 4 months, you will not borrow again. How do you settle the backlog?
But if you borrow, that 1 trillion will amount to nothing in the coming months in you paying interest on the borrowing.
The economic policy doesn't run like that. You cannot keep the international community waiting because you are owing them. You are a debtor. You cannot keep them waiting. You still need to service them. And until you gain a balance, you gain an altitude, you cannot remove your
level. Are we ever going to see a balance if we keep increasing our revenue to more than 1 trillion naira, but end up borrowing up to $7.8 billion and 100 million euros in the coming months?
Where we are going to balance this equation at the end of the day, you are making extra money now. That extra money can be kept somewhere while you are still paying that debt, and you are building up your capital base somewhere. So as you are building up your capital base, you are at the same time servicing the other end. And by the time you get to about half or 75% debt relief now, then you already have a capital base somewhere that you are going to start for. It's just like when you continue.
But they are sharing the money. They are not keeping it.
That is why I was talking about an escrow account.
So it still doesn't amount to nothing.
Exactly. I've always been hammering on that very issue. You don't eat all you have when you are in trouble. When we were in school in those days in the primary school, there was this thing normally teach us about ants. Save for the rainy day. Ants will come out during the dry season, they gather the food, they go back to their tiny underground bunker. It's bunker. Then they seal it up. When it rains, they stay there. But now, you are owing that type of money, that quantum volume of money, you are servicing it with almost 97% of your total revenue, you are borrowing more, then the little you have, instead of you to build a reservoir and put it in the reserve there, you are at the same time sharing it. How do you think that you will get out of that quagmire? You don't cure the effect of an ailment. You cure the cause of an ailment. Until we discover that this thing we are doing is wrong, we will never get it right. And I expect Mr. President, who is too experienced on monetary issue, to still throw the same line that he met.
But would he not get the rot of the state governors if he decides to save this?
No, man.
Just like Jonathan did. There's a whole lot of issues with himself.
I disagree.
And the governors forum in 2013.
Don't use the time of Jonathan to compare this one. During the time of Jonathan, there was Judas in the midst of the 12 disciples. Not even one Judas. There were more than 5 Judas.
But anyway, Jesus still finally had a kiss.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying now,
the person that kissed Jesus didn't live to see the benefit of it.
But he did kiss him and he was crucified on that account. But all I'm saying, Comrade for Domo, I will still bring it to you. Does it make any sense to still borrow huge? Irrespective of.
There are some organs of government you cannot hold static. They must run. You must run your foreign embassies. You must run so many sectors of the economy. But the only thing that the government can do, cut down on your internal spending. If you cut down on your internal spending, it will go a long way. Yesterday I was going to Isoko from here. Do you know, the governor convoy that passed me on the road, I was able to count 30 black jeeps. Black jeeps, I know what I mean. Tinted. What are they going to do with the governor? When the governor is an occasion, are they going to talk?
But we'll come back to public spending and the need for them to
internal spending
for us to get a reason for the increase. But I'll plead with you because we need to increase on what we do and go get some commercials because we're not borrowing on this, but actually talking on it. Let's go get our commercials, and when we come back, more discussion with that very revelation coming from no other person but the coordinating minister of the economy, and also doubles as the finance minister, Wale Edun, saying that federal government revenue has increased from 650 billion to a trillion naira in the last 4 months. Should we praise that very, or rather applaud that very revelation, or should we be skeptical and look at the issues critically?